Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Savvy Travel webinar. If you're looking for ways to find more money to travel and are always on the lookout for great travel deals, the next hour will be worth your while. My name is Kevin Gibbons. I'm the co-founder of The Savvy Life. For the past 8 years, my partner, Melissa Tassetti, and I have been teaching Savvy Living through webinars such as this one and in-person classes across the United States. When we're not teaching, we spend most of our days working one-on-one with individuals and families to help them plug their financial leaks, streamline their spending, create spending plans, and most importantly, teach them how to live within their plans. At this point, we've worked with over 475 clients, and one of the number one areas they want to focus more of their spending is travel. Today, I'm going to share some of the information we've used with those clients to help you be able to better afford to visit the places you want to visit. But first, just a quick housekeeping matter. Your phone should have been muted as you logged on to keep the background noise to a minimum. Please make sure that that's the case. I'm going to finish with time to spare to answer questions. If you do have questions, please type them in the question section on your screen as I'm giving the presentation. That will allow me to get right to them in the last minutes. As I mentioned, today's presentation focuses on how to do the things you want to do and visit the places you want to visit without sacrificing the ability to pay your bills, put money toward retirement, or if you are retired, your ability to stay retired. Before we get into the tips and techniques for spending smart on travel, I'd like to introduce you to the Savvy Life philosophy. The Savvy Life philosophy is to save money on the things that are not as important to you so you can focus your spending on the things that are important to you. The example I always give of this philosophy in action is about my wife Lita and I and our own passion for travel. What we aren't passionate about is TV entertainment. Even before the advent of Netflix and Hulu, we had made the decision to forego cable TV. In fact, when we moved into our home 20 years ago, the first thing I did was physically cut the cable leads in every room. A portion of the money we save by not having a several $100 a month cable bill allows us to spend on what's important to us, namely travel. That philosophy has taken us on several cruises, travel across the US and Canada, with motorcycle trips to the Grand Canyon, British Columbia, and countless points in between, and a motorcycle trip through Ireland. The Savvy Life philosophy is really that simple. First, we identified what's important to us, travel. Then we identified what isn't as important to us, cable TV. We figured out a way to save money on daily entertainment and focused our dollar on what is important to us. This is a picture of my wife Lita and me taking a break on the Skellig Ring in Southern Ireland. I'll talk more about that picture later. One of the things I've learned over the last 16 years of living this lifestyle and 10 years of writing about it, teaching it, and working with clients is that money affects everything. It affects where we live, what we eat, how we dress, and what we do with our free time. That's because what you spend in one area directly affects how much you have left to spend in the other areas of your life. And that's why we teach personal finance from a lifestyle perspective and focus not just on day-to-day money management, but also on your home, food, wardrobe, travel, and entertainment. The reason we focus on these areas specifically is because in our work with clients, we found that these are the areas where we most often overspend, but with the least amount of satisfaction. So what is the Savvy Life? The Savvy Life is having security and peace of mind by spending less than you make. This is the golden rule of personal finance. If you don't spend less than you make, you're not going to be able to manage your money properly. Knowing where you stand financially on a daily basis so you can make smart money decisions. Only purchasing what you love. Being penny wise on the things that are less important to you so you can spend money on the things that are important to you. You have to choose where you want to spend your money. The way that you do that is you purchase what you love. Streamlining your wardrobe. Buy and keep clothes that you love. Clothes that are just sitting in your wardrobe that you don't wear are just wasted inventory. Now, this is especially true for guys. We can fill a closet full of clothes that we don't remember and never use. I'm guilty of that myself. Every so often, my wife and I have to go through my closet and I have to streamline my wardrobe. Dining on purpose. When you go out to eat, do it because you want to enjoy the occasion. You want to celebrate something. You want to enjoy good food. You want to enjoy good company. Don't do it because there's no food in the house. So dine on purpose. Turn your home into a sanctuary so that it is a place to rest and recover and that you actually enjoy, not a place that you have stress being in, you want to leave and go spend money elsewhere. Make it someplace that is enjoyable and that you want to stay there. Finally, savvy living is about enjoying travel even more because you plan for it and know that you can afford it. If you plan for it and you set your spending plan and you have the money to enjoy it, then you're not worrying during your travel how you're going to pay for it. Savvy living is enjoying the travel because you plan for it and you know that you can afford it. Living a savvy life allows you to do more of the things that you want to do mindfully. Now, one of the favorite aspects of my job is to work with individuals and families to help them find additional money for their retirement and wealth building goals while ensuring that they're able to enjoy their immediate future. Many of the people we work with are still paying off student loans or mortgages. And so when it comes time to find money for travel, sometimes we have to get a little bit creative. Now, although you may be financially sound, the suggestions that I'm going to go over may be applicable to you as well. As far as I'm concerned, the more money you can save for travel, the more travel you can do. So how can we find money for travel? Well, we start by plugging our financial leaks. Whether you're trying to save money for travel or not, plugging your financial leaks is crucial. A financial leak is some money that you're paying, usually on a regular basis, out of habit, and you're not even aware of it. So log onto your bank account and look through your credit card statements and make sure that the items that are automatically taken from your account are for items and services you actually used. Are you actually going to the gym? Are you actually paying for, when you're paying for membership to different groups, are you actually taking advantage of those groups? Do you have items in a storage container that you're just paying month to month and you haven't looked inside that storage container for years? Those are the types of financial leaks that we're talking about plugging, where you're automatically paying money and you're not getting anything for it. So plug those financial leaks. Streamline your spending. Focus your spending on what is most important to you. If you find yourself falling into the trap of walking into Target for toothpaste and walking out pushing a shopping cart loaded with items, then becoming very purposeful while shopping could be a gold mine for you. Now, make no mistake, Melissa and I love Target and places like Walmart and Costco. It's just that those places, because they have such a wide breadth of products, they are prime candidates for impulse spending. So what we're really talking about here is streamlining your spending so that you're not buying on impulse, but you're buying with purpose. You have a list, You have thought about what you're going to purchase, and you're purchasing those items that you truly need or absolutely fall in love with. Another way for more money for travel. When it comes to travel, I'm a big fan of creating a dedicated savings account for it. You can have money automatically transferred to it on a monthly basis. You can also contribute to it when the opportunities arise. So this is really useful. There are a number of banks that will let you have multiple savings accounts without any additional fees, and you can put your money into dedicated bins. This makes it really clear to you what you're saving for. This does two things. It keeps money from leaking away and getting mixed and used for something else, and it gives you a very visual goal in what you're saving for and how you are making progress towards that goal. However, if nothing else, ensure that your travel savings account is separate from your emergency fund account. This is very important. These two streams of money have separate, distinct purposes. An emergency fund is for emergencies, which you want to save for, but you hope that you will never have to use. A dedicated savings account for travel or something else is actually a holding account because you're intending to spend that money. So it's very important to keep those separate. When you let the two mingle, it can get tangled and very often emotionally tangled as well. You may feel uncomfortable pulling from an account that also is dedicated towards emergencies because you figure you're jeopardizing your emergency savings account, when in fact you have set the money aside for the purpose of travel. On the flip side, it can be easy to accidentally spend into the emergency money if it's commingled with your travel money. So keep them separate. It's easy to do, and it really makes it clear what purpose your money has. Follow the 50-50 rule. One of the most powerful ways to dedicate more money for travel is to implement the 50-50 rule. This rule is the habit that when you receive a windfall, such as a tax refund or a bonus, you put 50% of that money into your retirement fund. The other 50% is yours to spend on anything you please, such as travel. Just make sure to take that money and deposit it in your dedicated travel savings account to ensure that it is used for travel and doesn't slowly get whittled away by other things. So use the 50-50 rule. Anytime you get a windfall, half of it goes to long-term wealth and retirement, the other half put into your travel savings. Many stores, especially grocery stores, have club savings cards. This is a fun way to actually save the money you save. What do I mean by that? I'll give you a challenge. When you go to your grocery store or wherever you have these club savings cards and you make your purchases and you use your card, at the bottom of the receipt, it says, congratulations, you saved X amount of dollars by using your club savings card. As soon as you get home after you put your groceries away, log on to your bank account, transfer that money that you saved from your checking account into your dedicated savings account. So you are actually saving the money that you saved. You will be amazed at how quickly your travel savings account will grow by just following this simple practice. Make use of leftovers. What do I mean by leftovers? You get paid on a regular basis. You should have a spending plan that says, here is how I'm going to use the money I receive from my job. If you get to the end of your pay period and you have money left over, you did not spend as much as you thought you were going to, take those leftovers and put them somewhere. If you leave them in your checking account, they will slowly vanish into the ether. On small purchases that, well, you think you have the money, I'll just go ahead and do it. No. When you get to the end of your pay period, before your next paycheck is deposited, take that leftover money that was budgeted and not spent and purpose it to something. Put it into your dedicated savings account. This ensures that you're focusing your money towards what you truly want. It is a really motivating way to stay focused, and it really is painless because you had a spending plan that said, I was going to use this amount of money. For whatever reason, you didn't. Maybe you didn't eat out one day. Maybe some food went on sale. Maybe you ended up working from home a day, so your gasoline bill was less. Whatever, you did not spend the amount of money you had allocated. It is extra. Before it vanishes, go put it to something that is important. Lastly, revitalize your lazy assets. This goes back to the idea about having an efficient, vital wardrobe. One of the aspects of savvy living is to live a streamlined life, from the clothes in your closet to the things around your home. The intention is to surround yourself with things that you absolutely love. So go through your home and declutter it. As you go through this process, look for items that can be sold at consignment stores or listed on Craigslist or eBay. Think of the items in your home, your clothes, furniture, jewelry, knickknacks, decorations, as a sort of asset. If you have assets that aren't pulling their weight, meaning you're not getting pleasure out of them, then revive them. Get them to somebody who will appreciate them, and take the money that you will earn from that and put it to something that you will enjoy. We have a client in Atlanta who is an attorney. During our work together, she became very passionate about streamlining her spending and started to see just how much stuff she was surrounded by that she no longer loved. So she started selling that stuff on a few websites, one of them being therealreal.com. In just a few months, she managed to earn over $5,000 selling clothes and jewelry that she had accumulated over the last 15 years. So she got those things out of her house. She gave them to people who were going to appreciate them and enjoy them. And she had a substantial amount of money that she could then put towards things that she was interested in. Now, I offer these suggestions not with the intention of asking you to be cheap or miserly. I offer them as a way to go through the things that you've acquired and let the items go that you no longer love, to ensure that you're living a purposeful life, and also to give you room to bring new things and new experiences into your life. So let's start talking about travel. One of the things I've learned about many things in life, and especially travel, is that planning is key. I would rather spend time doing research before I take a trip to ensure I get the best possible deal, so that when I go on that trip, I can spend as I please. When in Dublin or Castlebar, I don't want to have to worry about nickel and diming myself. I want to buy what I want to buy, within reason, of course, because who knows when I will be in Ireland again. So planning things out gives me the confidence to know how much money I'm going to have and then have the ability to spend it where I want to. The first step is to identify where you want to go. Now, this is an important topic. Popular places can be more expensive. So sometimes you have to make a decision. Do I want to go to the most popular place, or do I want to go to a place that has many of the same attributes, but maybe less expensive? My wife and I learned this several years ago when we went to Yosemite. We live in California. It's not that far away. Yosemite it's a jewel in the national park system. It is absolutely gorgeous, but it's crowded and it's fairly expensive to get in there. Did you know that there are 3 other valleys right next to Yosemite that are pretty much identical to Yosemite, except they don't have all the concession stands, they don't have all the finished campgrounds, they don't have all the high prices and the traffic? You can go to one of the other valleys in Mariposa County, go camp in a primitive campsite, and have the place to yourself for a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to go into Yosemite. So if that's what you're looking for, it becomes very critical to understand where you want to go and figure out where you want to go, what you want to look for while you're there, why you want to go there. Second, identify when you want to go. For those of you who are already savvy travelers, you know that deciding when you want to go greatly impacts the price as well as the enjoyment of your trip. All desirable places have peak travel seasons. You will pay more to go during a peak travel season. But an additional consideration, if you're not a fan of crowds, then you don't want to be in Paris in the springtime, no matter how beautiful it is. So identify when you want to go, both in terms of the expense and in terms of the attributes at that time of year. If you're going somewhere to look at natural life, like flowers blooming, trees changing color of leaves, then you're a little bit restricted. You have to go in that time period, and you will probably have to pay a price. If you want to go and you can go at different times off season, you can get great deals and less crowds you can enjoy. Research, research, research. With so many travel websites and books available, you can plan the last detail of your trip and know what to expect regarding price, distances between destinations, and so much more. I had an experience where I thought I did a lot of research, and it turned out that I actually didn't on a motorcycle trip my wife and I had. We took a motorcycle trip up the western coast of the United States, and I had planned out a trip. I figured we can easily ride 300 or 400 miles a day on the motorcycle at 60 miles an hour. That's 5 hours. Getting off to see things, that's no problem. I didn't research well enough to consider the fact that the route that I picked, which I picked because I wanted to go through small towns and see really nice sights to have an enjoyable ride, most of those towns had 30-mile-per-hour speed limits. What was planned to be 5 hours on the motorcycle turned out to be 10 plus, and that was a long day. So researching all the aspects gives you so much more insight into what your trip is going to be and making sure that it is enjoyable. And we got through it. It was just a long day, and we slept in, had a good dinner, but you don't want to have those type of mistakes, so plan. When you only have so much time in a particular destination, you want to ensure that you make every moment count. The more you plan, the more time and money you save. That's just a very simple rule. Finally, anticipation is half the fun. Both Melissa and I are inveterate planners. Sometimes this drives our respective spouses crazy because we'll plan down to the last detail. We'll research everything to death before we go on any trip. We'll look at maps. We'll look on the web. We'll check weather reports. We'll look for activities. We'll look for restaurants. We'll get reviews. Both of us are very flexible in dealing with changes and improvising, but we like to at least give ourselves a fighting chance on these trips. And it's fun. In my sophomore year in high school, I had the opportunity to spend 6 weeks in France with my class. My French teacher had a deal with his French-born wife that they would go home every other year. That was part of their marriage arrangement. They could live in the United States, but every other year they had to go back to France so she could see her friend and for friends and family. So he chaperoned 20 teenagers all over France for the summer in exchange for us paying his and his family's traveling costs. As a class, we spent the entire year preparing for that trip. All the language and culture lessons were based around where we would be going. We spent 3 weeks in hotels and youth hostels, and 3 weeks with his friends and families scattered all over France. That summer was an experience I'll never forget. But the previous 9 months of planning and preparation were just as memorable. So let's look at some of our favorite resources. Groupon getaways. We've been advocating Groupon getaways to our clients for a very long time. Melissa has talked about her friends and family's experiences for years. Finally, she decided to try it for herself and her family. So she, her husband, and her son took a trip to Italy in November. This is something they had been planning and talking about for years and years. She went onto Groupon getaways. she found a trip for the three of them for $5,300. This included airfare out of San Francisco, hotel, including an extra night in Venice, breakfast every morning, which saved them over $250, and a lot of headaches because they could just get up and they knew where they were having breakfast. That was one meal they did not have to go search for. And it included train travel between the cities. It was just a fantastic trip for them. And it was all planned out, incredibly affordable. And because it was a package deal, it didn't take as much thought and energy to execute because it was part of a package. Everything was set up for them. Now, this is somewhat structured. It's good, especially for the first time you're going somewhere, but keep in mind that Groupon getaways are package deals. So if you want to take one, you're going to be doing what the package has put together for you. So as long as they're what you want, they are an absolutely fantastic deal. Budgettravel.com is a wonderful website. They have affordable travel destinations that you may have never heard of, and they have thousands of them. And it's a really great place to go look. You can put in attributes of a trip that you're looking for, and it will find sites and locations that will meet those. A few years ago, we had a client who wanted to see the bioluminescent organisms at the Galapagos Islands down in South America. Now, the Galapagos Islands are off the coast of South America down by Ecuador. It is a chore to get there. It is a very long plane flight down to Ecuador, Peru. Then you have to take chartered boats out to the islands, and then once you get out to the islands, you have to take additional chartered boats to go to these where the bioluminescent organisms are. So this client really wanted to do this trip, but it was very expensive, very complicated, and it just seemed too daunting to prepare and save for it. So she had this dream, but it was a long shot dream. She really did not expect that she would ever be able to do that. So when Melissa found out what she was really interested in, it wasn't that she wanted to go to the Galapagos Islands. She wanted to look at these bioluminescent organisms. So Melissa found Bioluminescent Bay in Puerto Rico, which is a much more manageable trip. It's part of the United States, so you don't need to worry about customs and visas and such. Much closer and much easier to get through. There are many airlines that travel to Puerto Rico. Our client was able to save for this trip and take it within 3 months after Melissa had found it for her. Rick Steves, he's been around for a long time. His mission is to show people how to avoid the tourist traps and immerse themselves in the culture of where they're traveling. And he does an excellent job on this. He has books, he has websites, and he has shows that all revolve around this idea of getting off the beaten path and enjoying the real experience. Fantastic resource to really get a flavor. A fairly new source, I say new compared to Rick Steves, Nomadic Matt. He's written books and he has a website and he gives expert trips for traveling the world on a budget. So again, he's kind of the same idea of how can you see the real world with your traveling, but he does it very much on a budget. So it's a little bit more adventurous. If that's something that you're interested in, Nomadic Matt, definitely search him out. He has really fantastic resources. Finally, consider using a real-life travel agent. They're agents because they love to travel, and they know firsthand how to help to make your money go further. They're also an advocate to help you if something happens while you're there. So let's take a look at some specific areas for saving money on travel. Air travel. Well, we had talked about the importance of time when you're planning your trip. Fly off season. The height of the tourist season, which basically runs from May through September, you will pay more to fly in those time periods. You will pay more to fly the week before Thanksgiving, the week before Christmas. I went to go visit my sister in Florida last year, and by changing my travel dates by 2 days, I saved over $400 on airline tickets just because I decided to fly out earlier to go see her and came back on December 26th. Nobody wants to fly the day after Christmas. They still want to enjoy the holidays. But by going out earlier, I beat the initial rush. I still spent a week with my sister. I saved a bunch of money, and I got home in time that I could have a late Christmas with my wife. So flying off season really can save you money. Flexibility is the key, and that ties in with what day of the week you can travel on. Talk a little bit about that in a few more bullet points. And if you can take advantage of last minute deals. If you are the adventurous type and you can look at an airline's flight log and see that an airline has 2 seats left open on a flight that leaves tomorrow, and they're trying to fill that plane because airlines hate flying unfilled aircraft, they'll sell those tickets for cheap. If you can get up and leave and be flexible, then you can save a great deal of money. Now, a lot of people used to think that the best time to buy airline tickets was on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. While this is still a pretty good general guideline, airline ticket purchases have become much more complicated in recent years. That isn't always true. Things just aren't that simple. You really need to use a fare tracker and notifier. I'll discuss a couple examples of those in the next slide. But still, thinking about it, you can pick the best time to buy in the middle of the week. Fly in the middle of the week. Flying on Wednesday, Tuesday, or Saturday. Those are the best days to fly. Why is that? It's because business travelers fly on Mondays and Fridays. They fly out Monday to do their business. They fly home Friday to be home for the weekend. Vacationers fly on Fridays and Sundays. Most vacationers do weekend trips. They'll fly out sometime on Friday, maybe at night, maybe they'll take a half day and leave a little bit earlier, and they fly back on Sunday so they can go back to work. So if you fly on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Saturday, the planes are less crowded, so the prices are lower. Finally, learn the tricks of frequent flyer programs. When Melissa and I were writing our book, Living the Savvy Life, we wanted to include a chapter on how to take advantage of the frequent flyer programs. We started researching it and realized there are so many programs and they change so often, you can't keep up with them to put that information in a book or even a webinar. They just change too frequently. The information becomes obsolete almost instantaneously. Find a frequent flyer program that you like with an airline that you use a lot and learn all the ins and outs. If you learn how to take advantage of the frequent flyer programs, what the threshold points are, what the trade-offs are, you can save a great deal of money. So let's look at some of our favorite air travel resources. Airfarewatchdog.com. This is where you can get the deal and fare alerts, like I talked about on the previous page. You simply say, I want to go from this airport to that airport, and it tracks all the airlines and will notify you when fares reach a certain threshold, or it's sophisticated enough to predict trends, and it will say, we see the price going down, it's going down, it's going down. Oh, we think it's going to go up, you want to buy now. So you can set up notifications, and Airfare Watchdog will do that for you. Kayak.com has been around for a long time. They're still one of the best resources for air travel. There are 3 international airports in the San Francisco Bay Area. It is easy to look up all of them at the same time and compare prices for flights that will leave from any one of those 3 airports to a destination. Kayak does that incredibly easily. You can change parameters. You can pick what time of day you want to travel. You can say what kind of airlines you want to travel, how many stops. It's just an incredibly useful site. Very strongly recommended. However, not all budget carriers are listed on Kayak and other conglomerate sites as well. So you need to go look for budget carriers independently. For instance, Southwest Airlines does not allow Kayak to show their sales prices. So sometimes they'll say something like Southwest has a flight to your destination, but it won't say anything about pricing. You have to actually go to Southwest Airlines to see what the price is. So keep that in mind. Kayak covers a lot of the information, but they don't always cover all the budget airlines. Momondo is another cheap airfare aggregate. They collect all the prices for most of the budget airlines and put them on one site so you can compare. Vyama is an aggregate site. It's a similar site to Momondo, but it's for international flights. So if you're planning on traveling across the ocean, going to Europe or Asia or Africa, look at Vyama for good deals. Finally, we'll come back again and say, consider a travel agent. Know when to use a travel agent. Maybe you won't use it for a flight into Las Vegas because those are easy, they're ubiquitous, and you can book that yourself. But for an international flight, it might be kind of nice to have a travel agent set up the details on that, especially if there are multiple connections, because they'll understand how long it takes to go through customs, how long it takes to make a connection. Or if you're very busy, it's less expensive to have a travel agent be on the lookout and buy at a good price than for you to continue putting off purchasing the tickets because you don't have the time and then having to pay too much because you're buying tickets at the last minute. This is especially important if you're traveling with your whole family. Accommodations. Again, Kayak is an absolutely fantastic place. It searches multiple deal sites like Expedia and Priceline and others. By the way, note that Priceline has been purchased by Booking.com. So if you see ads or you see website for Booking.com, Priceline, they're the same company now. The nice thing about Kayak is it lets you search for hotels within a radius of a point of interest. I used that recently on a trip to Washington, D.C., where I found a hotel that was near the mall and the Smithsonian Institute. So you can really pick exactly what you want, and it sorts. But you can sort by price, you can sort by rating. Really handy way to sort. Hotels.com has great last minute deals. If you're flexible, you can get some really good deals by going to hotels.com. Trivago is another conglomerate site. It will compare deals on multiple sites like hotels.com, Expedia, Travelocity, Orbitz, many others. So that's a good one to go to see what everybody is doing. Airbnb is still going strong. So unique accommodations from local hosts. You can really get some flavor of what the area you're going to go live you want to go travel to. And rather than staying in the tourist area in a traditional hotel, you can do Airbnb. Just be aware that many cities are starting to treat Airbnb like hotels, and they're charging the owners a hotel tax. So when you make your reservation, make sure you understand what you're paying for and that all those taxes are included and you don't get surprised. HomeExchange.com. This is a really interesting way of travel. It's the largest network of home swappers. For an annual membership of $150, you get as many home swaps as you want in a year. So if you want to go to England, you just go on the list, you see who in Home Exchange has availability on their house at the time you want to go, and you go stay in their house. And then somebody wants to come and stay in your house while you're out of the area, they go through Home Exchange and you set up all the parameters and they stay in your house. This is a great way to, again, really get the experience of staying and living in the culture that you're going to go visit. Really a wonderful deal. Finally, ask for a discount. This seems obvious, but it really does work. Call, go online, and if it's feasible, walk in the door and see what will give you the best deal. Melissa likes to tell a story about her mom and her mom's boyfriend, Gary. They love golfing. They are incredibly passionate golfers. And so they will, at the drop of a hat, they will travel all over California on a weekend, just pick up and go to go golfing. So they decided to do that one weekend. They traveled up north from where they lived to one of their favorite golf courses, walked inside to get a hotel room. Hello, do you have any hotel rooms? Oh, we have a big conference going on here. We don't. I know the room would be $200 for the night. Well, they're only going to be golfing for 2 days, and they'd much rather spend their money on the golf course than in a hotel room. So Melissa's mother said, "Thank you very much." She walked out to the car where Gary was. She got on her phone and she called the toll-free reservation desk for that very hotel. Said, "Hi, I'm wondering if you have any rooms available at this hotel." Reservation clerk on the phone said, "Sure we do. $75 per night." "Great, I'll take it." Melissa's mom got out of the car, walked back into the hotel, talked to the exact same receptionist who had just quoted her $200 and said, "Hello, I'm Jeanette Faria. I have a reservation." And she got the hotel for $75 instead of $200. Think of all the money that she could spend, how that would pay for greens fees, food at the golf course, traveling around, or just saving the money. So be bold. Ask for the discount. Cruises. Cruises are a lot of fun. And they can be budget savvy, but just be careful of those cocktails. I do know people who have got very good deals on cruise packages, and the bar bill was more than the cruise bill. You can usually pick up last minute deals also, because just like airlines, cruise ships don't want to have empty rooms. There's one caveat to this. You won't find those deals, last minute deals, going to Alaska. It is such a popular destination on the West Coast that they can always fill those rooms. So you won't get last minute deals going to Alaska. However, if you have flexibility and you can take a last minute cruise, very short notice, be sure to go to vacationstogo.com. You can save up to 80% on last minute cruises. This is a clearinghouse. They have a 90-day ticker, and they just go through and say, here are the cruises that are leaving in the next 90 days. Here's how many cabins they have available. It's like, okay, now this cruise is leaving in 10 days. It still has cabins available. This cruise is leaving tomorrow. It still has 3 cabins available, and the cruise line wants to sell those cabins. So it's a clearinghouse. If you can be flexible, you can do exceptionally well at Vacations to Go. Cruise Sheets, the same thing. The aggregate lists over 12,000 cruises. Repositioning cruises are really a good deal. They can be very good bargains as the cruise tries to move their ships from the winter route to the southern route. Really an excellent idea. Make sure that you research excursions. Some excursions can be pricey and some can really be good deals. Melissa and her family took an Alaska cruise and went to look at an excursion to go look at replicas of Inuit totem poles. The excursion was $50 per person. They decided that was a little bit money and a little bit much. They didn't want to pay for it. My wife and I took the same cruise about a year or two later. We got off, walked into town, found a park that had real authentic poles for free. So make sure you research your cruises. On the flip side, both Melissa's family and my family really enjoyed the Yukon White Pass Railway. That was just a beautiful experience for $150 each. Beautiful photos, many sights. We took a bus tour up into the Yukon from Sagway with a very entertaining guide, and a train ride back down on the White Pass Railway. Really enjoyable. So research the excursions. Make sure you pick ones that will meet what you're expecting. There are so many different ways to save on travel, as well as resources for finding those deals. It's impossible to discuss them all in an hour-long session. But before we go, I want to share a personal story with you. Our goal with a Savvy Life is to show people how to focus their spending so they can buy the things they want to buy, do the things they want to do, and visit the places they want to visit. Money should be enjoyed. Often, we think we can't do things we want because we don't have enough money. At the same time, we are bleeding money by mindlessly spending it on things that are not important to us. Case in point, walking into that Target for toothpaste and walking out pushing a cartload of bags. Every day, we come in contact with people that are just in arm's reach of achieving their financial goals, but they can't see it. They need guidance to get them there. Even the most conscientious of us sometimes need a little guidance. For 15 years, I had been telling my business partner, Melissa, about a motorcycle trip I wanted to take around Ireland. This was a serious dream for me. I had been thinking about that trip even before I learned how to ride a motorcycle. But whenever she asked me about it, I would say I couldn't afford it at the moment. For 15 years, I couldn't afford it at the moment. Now, because Melissa is a close friend, and she spends all her time looking at what people can and cannot afford and how to address that, she called me on it. I was making good money at the time in the tech field. This was before I joined her full-time at the Savvy Life. So she crunched some numbers. She knew that I would go out to lunch almost every day, spending about $8. I was also eating out with my wife 2 to 3 times per week at about $50 to $100 each. We like good food. Doing the math, she figured out that I was spending $40 a week on lunch and about $225 a week on dinner. So that's $265 a week, $1,060 per month, $12,720 per year on discretionary dining. So the question is, just how much would it cost me to go to Ireland? Well, Melissa really does live and breathe this type of personal finance detective work. So she sat down and figured it out. Cost of a round trip ticket to Dublin, $675. Hotel, $95 a night, $665 per week. Now, Melissa doesn't know anything about motorcycles, but she picked the nicest motorcycle she could find in a motorcycle rental place. $875 a week. That's a good motorcycle. Gave a food budget of $75 a day, which is $525 for the week. Now, Melissa knows me. She knows that I'm not going to go to Ireland and not drink Guinness, so she gave me a budget. 2 pints per day, $75 a week. Total for the trip, $2,800 or $6,000 for two to spend a week in Ireland. If I simply cut my food budget by taking my lunch several times a week and eating out 1 or 2 times less per week, my wife and I could save for that trip in just 6 months. When she laid it out for me like this, I felt pretty silly. I had considered myself to be fairly financially savvy. I'd written a book on the subject, for Pete's sakes. But here I was, blinded by my own habits. So we put her plan into action. Took a little longer to save the money because we wanted to increase that food budget, and we wanted to stretch the trip to 2 weeks. And my wife and I celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary riding motorcycles all over Ireland. We each rode our own rental bikes and literally rode all the way around Ireland, including getting lost in Northern Ireland for an evening. Remember, even with all the planning, you have to be able to improvise. That picture at the beginning of the presentation is from day 10 on our trip. This one is from day 3 on the northeast coast of Ireland. It has been our most memorable trip and was most definitely worth more than a deli sandwich eaten at my desk or even the best dinner with my wife at the fanciest restaurant in town. You can do the things you want to do, buy the things you want to buy, and visit the places you want to visit. It's just a matter of purposeful spending. Whatever your financial dream, it is within your reach. Thank you for your time. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have written down. And if you would prefer, you can contact me or Melissa directly at these email addresses. Once again, thank you. So let's take a look and see if we have any questions. So we have one. Do I have any trips for travel by train? Yes. We didn't talk about that here. Train is an absolutely fantastic way to travel. I'm going to talk about traveling by train in the US because traveling by train in Europe or in Japan is a different experience, and there actually is some things to say about that. But just in the United States, it is an absolutely wonderful way to see the country if you have the time. Um, they do stop at many places, and if you really want to enjoy it, you want to get on a train that is not an express and be able to stop in most of the places. Derek Lowe wrote an article called Across the United States by Train for $186. And what he talked about is that you can buy a package ticket that allows you to get on and off the train multiple times. So you can actually take a train, in my case, from San Francisco to Chicago or New York, and I can get off in Kansas City, and then I can spend the night in Kansas City, tool around Kansas City, get back on the next train that's going from San Francisco to Chicago, catch the next one, and go from Kansas City to another place, to Omaha. Stop in Omaha for a day, get back on, go to Chicago. So you can stop multiple times and really see the country. It's an incredibly affordable way to do that. The rail passes in Europe and even in Japan are just absolutely fantastic. Most of them you buy the equivalent of a monthly pass, and you can go on any train, anytime, anywhere. Services in both those places are just absolutely wonderful. So traveling by train is just a great idea, and it can be a wonderful experience. In the United States, you're not going to get there quickly. You're going to enjoy the journey. So if you can put that into your schedule, absolutely a wonderful way to do it. And as an added benefit, on a lot of the longer hauls, they even have docents that in certain of the observation cars will give lectures about what you're seeing as you pass by. So it's very educational. Great question. See if there's any more questions out there. Okay, well, we're very close to our hour up. I'll leave this up in case there are any more questions. And if not, thank you all for your attention. I hope that you have a wonderful day. And remember, you can achieve your travel goals. All it takes is a little bit of purposeful spending and a little bit of planning. Thank you all.